We go. Welcome to Worship Leader Wednesday.
Kind of.
Live. We are glad to see you with us today. Before we get started, this is a first in the history of worship tutorials. We have a sponsor. Bradford, can you confirm that we are indeed live?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We are a skeleton crew today. It has been sickness season at Worship Tutorials.
It's sickness everywhere.
I know. So
Have you heard of 2020?
Nick is... that was so long ago. Nick is out sick. My whole household has had the flu. Bradford has been keeping a healthy distance. Finally, he felt comfortable coming over.
Last year was like terrible for my family. Yes. Almost missed Thanksgiving. Most of December, we were locked in. And it was like, I am not doing that again.
Yeah. So get your flu vaccine because, yes.
It'll help.
It'll help. So there's no Nick today. So we're rolling one camera. We're old school live streaming here.
Obviously no Fuller.
And no Fuller.
Today is
Fuller's not sick.
15th anniversary.
That's right.
So he's staying home because all his kids are at school.
Yeah, that's right. Fuller decided to spend this day with his wife on his anniversary and not with us. So you can voice your disapproval in the comments on that. Okay, we got a sponsor today. The sponsor is, and it will be the sponsor for the next year.
Yeah. For
Worship Leader Wednesday Lives, Christian Kitchens Coffee. So we have developed a relationship with this company, with these people. It is like a family-run kind of a thing. Very high-quality beans, if you will. I've got some right here. These are my two favorite blends. So there's a link below where you can go grab some Christian Kitchens coffee. It is delicious coffee.
What's in our mugs?
I've got some. Bradford's got some. My favorites, if you head over to Christian Kitchens Coffee, my two favorites are Grace and Faith. Grace is a medium light roast. Faith, medium dark roast. They've got all kinds of different stuff over there. Decaf, you can get K-Cup, you can get ground, you can get whole bean. Whatever floats your boat and caffeinates your body. And the thing that Christian Kitchens, sort of what they're a faith-based company. And we were talking with them and they're like, everyone has a cup of coffee in the morning. And so we want to encourage people to open the Word and spend time with the Lord, reading the Bible, and have like a devotional time
while drinking coffee.
While drinking delicious coffee, and it is good.
You want to get your toe stepped on? It's interesting how we put time and attention to making sure we get coffee before we go out the door.
But we don't always make time and attention to
read our Bible,
reading the Word, spending time with our Savior. That's right.
Though, if you think about it, I'll also offer this retort to my retort.
Yes.
Does the Bible say anything about thou shalt spend 30 minutes of quiet time before beginning thine day?
No, it does not say that.
Actually, I was reading, is it 1 Thessalonians?
Yeah.
The will of God for your life is this, your sanctification. That's the will of God.
The Bible,
some of you high schoolers are like,
what is God's will for me? Yes.
But your sanctification is what the Bible says is the will of God for your life. So that can mean, what does it take to get sanctified? I don't know. We're going down a deep hole.
We're starting big. You know what the Bible also says? To pray without ceasing.
It does.
How do you do that?
Well, if that's the case, how do you?
But huge thank you to Christian Kitchens Coffee for sponsoring this episode of Worship Leader Wednesday Live. Links below. Get some coffee. Tell them we said hi. Say Worship Tutorials sent me here in your order.
Yes, make sure you do that. We're going to have more.
Yeah.
We're just starting this thing. So there were talks of discount codes.
Oh, yeah. That might be coming.
But we're rolling things out one at a time.
That's right. We'll see. We're going live every month.
We're excited to partner with them. So
Worship. Is that Jason? Way to go deep right at the top.
Oh, he already told me he was basically going to troll. So
Jason, bring it on. Bring us your bring it on. That's what I'm saying. Give us the weirdest comments you can. All right, so this is a Ask Us Anything type of an episode. We don't have a particular topic in mind, but I'm going to ask Bradford a question.
Okay.
Are you, so maybe we can just kind of share what we're doing right now. Actually, that's a great. Let's pivot, and then I'll ask you. I'm basically going to ask, are you ready for Easter? Or not Easter, Christmas? Are you ready for Christmas? Have you prepped it?
Me?
Your church.
I don't know.
So, Bradford, tell us what you're doing these days in the world of church worship leading.
This is
great content.
I went the complete opposite direction.
Okay.
Man, I did 8.5 years at one job.
Yes.
That I've talked about this before. Millennials aren't known for sticking it out. Millennials, there's some sense of entitlement that we're known for.
That's the stereotype.
Yeah. We're known for having a sense of entitlement. However, we're also smart, and we were put in the spot we are in because of the other generations. All of them are, right? Like all of us are products of other generations. But anyways, get off that soapbox. So I was there 8.5 years. And it wore me out. Like, the idea of leading worship and having to be in charge of all that kind of gives me shudders because of Fuller was my boss, for clarification, and it was not his fault. He did his best to equip us as much was in his power, and it was very much needed, and it helped. So I am a contract guitarist, and I prefer not to book up all my Sundays because I spent, like I said, 8.5 years basically being told I could kind of maybe have one, maybe two off.
Maybe two off, yeah.
And basically those were used to just not have to travel back immediately after Christmas Day because I had to be back for like December 26th, December 27th for services. That was how I use those. So I actually just got my PCO invites. I'm doing Christmas this year.
PCO invites, yes.
Doing Christmas. I did not do last Christmas. That was my first Christmas off in a while. But my son is 2.5, and he knows that Dad goes to church.
That's right.
To play music.
That's right.
And so I'm excited to let him see. It's a little easier for like a Christmas service to bring your kid. On a normal Sunday, he's not going to be.
He goes to like
entertained.
A children's church type of a situation.
Yeah, and expecting a 2.5-year-old to be quiet during a 30-ish minute message is you're asking for trouble.
I remember when I had a 2-year-old. That was the thing. So, how often do you serve? So your contract.
I request to like. I would like to. I'm willing to do and would like to keep it to about twice a month, so I can go to church the other 2 times with my wife. That's what I request.
Bradford.
That's what I request. But they know that I am not without mercy. Mm-hmm. So if they ask me to do more, I'm on my 3rd week in a row right now, and I'm totally cool with that. So
I'm not without mercy.
Isn't that what he says in Gladiator?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. So
am I not merciful?
Am I not merciful?
That's it. Yeah.
I know he says that, but I thought he also said something about it.
That sounds period correct.
Yeah. But either way, So it's what I do. It's been great. My wife has also really appreciated knowing that we get to sit in church together because we met and I was on staff at church.
Yeah.
And so that church was chosen for us. We chose this church together, and
that's an interesting way to put it. That church was chosen for us, the one you worked at.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
as a couple, like I felt clearly called to go there. But,
yeah.
So, anyway,
very good. There was a question in here. Matthew Gatt says, Bradford, do you do remote recording sessions as a guitarist?
Let's go.
When I saw that, I was thinking in the context of church, but I think Matthew is asking, can I put this comment?
How do you do that? Do you have to do it within YouTube?
Like
because
that?
Of it? Oh, okay.
No, Ecamm is taking care of us.
Well, you did the question box thing.
Yeah.
So
do
where do the
you
questions
do
go?
remote recording sessions as a guitarist?
I will happily. Let's talk.
You have before.
I have. Bradford at worshiptutorials.com.
He's good.
Let's go.
And look at all the gear we have access. The tone is going to be incredible.
I
can't
promise
see
anything.
Are these guitars.
It may be okay. It may be adequate. Brian, same question directed at you.
Yes.
What are you doing? Did you plan Christmas yet? Why not?
I was also on staff at same church Bradford was on staff. I think this is no secret. Fuller was our boss. He hired us about a decade ago. I quit that job 6 years ago, maybe? No, more
Something
than
like
that. Yeah, maybe 6 years ago. To be a full-time YouTuber, actually, to run worship tutorials full-time. So I then volunteered at that church. That church was called New Hope Church. I think everyone knows because we did Sunday vlogs from there. It was obvious. So I volunteered there for an extra four-ish years, and left that church in 2020. So right around a Thanksgiving time after the pandemic started. So yeah, I found a local church that I love, and I really wanted to go to a place where Seth, my son, who's 9, I wanted him to be planted in a church. I grew up in a very small town, Oklahoma, Fairview, Oklahoma. I went to the Mennonite Brethren Church in Fairview, Oklahoma from age 0 to 18. And I was there every Sunday, every Wednesday night, some Sunday nights too, when they did Sunday night. And I really loved that experience growing up in that church with the other youths that were my colleagues, my age, right? So I want that for my son. I don't want to hop around. And I know that for a lot of like worship leaders, when you're employed in church, it's like you got to go where you have to provide for your family, and so there's a lot of turnover, especially with young people. And I don't think that's maybe it is a bad thing. I don't know. I guess I don't think it's a good thing. But I'm at a place in my life in a situation where I don't have to do that, and I also really detest the church shopping. Like if you're at a church and something happens that you don't like, or there's a stylistic choice you don't like, then you just leave. I don't think that is Christ-like at all. Now certainly there are things where there would be issues. There was an issue there were issues that caused us both to leave, right? But we were there for a long time.
I'd say we were there long enough to put up with enough that meant we were fine leaving.
Yeah. And it probably should have happened earlier.
Maybe,
but
yeah.
I believe that we should be, if there are problems, because churches are run by human beings and human beings are not perfect, and we should be part of the solution, not just bailing when something happens. Anyway, so I want to be somewhere for the long term, and I want my son to grow up in a church, and I want to be at a church where the pastor does not want to be a celebrity. That was criteria number 1. So Bradford's like, wow, he went there, didn't he?
I feel like you can't swing a dead cat nowadays though without running into a pastor like that.
So yeah, I left. I got to know the pastor of this church because he lived in my neighborhood. He's one of my neighbors, and really grew to love him.
We could unpack that for a little bit. There's something, and the idea. Oh my gosh, What did I just say?
Your church, your Christianese.
I just said we can unpack that.
Unpack this for you.
I just wanted to point out the idea that pastor, because I felt like you were going to breeze over this, that pastor actually like cared about Brian.
He pastored me through the transition.
Yeah, and he didn't have.
He really did.
He asked if you would like be willing to help, right? But he wasn't like expecting you to attend.
Not for like years.
Oh, okay. Well, then there you go. Even more so. I just really admire that. Anytime I run into that guy, you just. His
name is Alex. He is. I love him so much, and he works so hard. And his heart, he has such a heart for people and evangelism, and not in the way that the word evangelism has become negatively connotated. Is that a word? Yeah. So
I'm not good with the words.
Yeah.
That's why I play guitar.
So I'm at a church. I volunteer there, and when I came, this is an interesting story. This is cool that we're going here. When I started at this church, I didn't want to come in like, "Hey, I'm Brian. I was a worship leader at a mega church. I have this YouTube channel." I came in and I said, and I met they knew who I was. Because of my conversations with Alex, the pastor. And I just said, look, I'm here to help you. Whatever you need, please let me know. I'm here to help. I'll play guitar in the background. I'll play acoustic, electric. I'll sing if you want me to. Don't have to. Whatever serves this church best, I'm here to serve. And it turns out that the church I go to is a multi-campus church. They have 2 campuses, but they only have really one staff worship leader. So they need help. as with worship leading. So I'm helping there with worship leading. So I lead worship most Sundays. I'll lead a song or two. Sometimes I am like the band leader. Sometimes I'm not. It depends on if our worship leader, Caitlin, and she's awesome. She's young and she's doing a great job. So it is a pleasure to serve there where I'm at. And that's what I'm doing. I'm a volunteer. I serve 3 weekends a month typically. I would love to serve 2 sometimes. And you know what the great thing is about not being on staff? You can block out Planning Center and you just put the block out dates and you walk away, zero guilt. You get a thing that comes in, you can't make it, you say decline, you give a good reason, walk away, zero guilt. There's no follow-up.
I just to like feel like I had some control, when Fuller would send me a PCO request, I would just decline it.
Knowing that you can't decline
just
it.
Like, even though like he knew, but like I think one time I caught him off guard. He's like, "Hey, bro, is there a reason you think that you don't have to be here?" And I was like, I just played dumb. I thought this was more like a volunteer thing.
There you go. I thought this was more of a volunteer thing. I'm just giving you the commensurate work for what I'm being paid for, Fuller. Man, we're really going deep, aren't we? Okay. We love the church. We love serving the Lord. I hope that comes through. We've all had bad experiences in church. All of us. Us, you, everybody. But
I would say
the church is the hope of the world. Just
if you
wait.
haven't had a bad experience in church,
just wait.
And I don't mean that to be people will let you down.
That's right.
So don't like view everything with rose-colored glasses either.
On the flip side of that, we will also let people down.
Yeah, exactly.
So treat people with grace, and then hopefully you will be treated with grace as well when it comes back around.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any questions that we can?
I've been answering like quick ones with like text while you were chatting because some of them were like really quick. So here's one we could probably. I think get some thoughts
discussion
on.
Out of
6 strings of Sam.
6 strings.
Some people argue that getting paid for playing on church as a guitarist is a bad thing, and that we should just volunteer as it's worship. Worship can't be paid, quote unquote. What do you think? Well, this is interesting.
Some people will tell you that salesman is a bad word. I don't know. When you said is a bad thing, I just went to Dwight making a speech. They'll conjure up images of door-to-door charlatans. Or I don't know. Sorry. Bradford, that's a great question.
This is an interesting concept because
you're the guy
you volunteer at your church and I get paid.
Yes.
So here's how I think of it personally. I feel that and I've actually been told this, the reason I'm there is because I'm not the best guitarist in the world. I'm not an incredible guitarist by any means. I just serve the song and like exactly what the song asks for, I give it. And so it's how I can be an example to other team members. For example, this past week on Thursday we did 2 songs in G, and then Saturday like evening I got a text saying, hey, we're doing them in A on Sunday. I considered that a heads up, but some people would say that is not a heads up. The heads up would be days before, and so I showed up on Sunday and I was just like, whoop, let's go. Yeah. So I am there because they know they can count on me to be able to fit the mold and do what is necessary. And they can have flexibility with things, and it makes. And also, the campus I play at is like the hub campus, like the main campus. They don't call it that, but like they record there for the online service and stuff. So, knowing that I can be there to execute, I mess up, but I just like that's part of it, and it's helpful to know that you have people you can count on. That doesn't mean that volunteers can't do that at all.
No,
but
they should.
I was approached and they asked if they could, and I was like, let's talk. So we did.
Yeah, from what I understand, you're also there to serve as an example, right, for other people, and an example of the level of excellence that we'd like to see from people on stage, or on the platform, or in production, or just involved. So, I don't have, like I said, like Bradford said, I don't get paid at my church, and I serve in the capacity as worship leader often. I don't do a lot of I don't do most of the work that worship leaders do by design. I told them, I didn't tell them anything. They just don't. They're not going to ask me to like recruit people, build teams, schedule songs, go to meetings, that kind of stuff. But I do lead rehearsals. I lead worship on Sundays, and I love it. I would feel there would be like a void in my life if I wasn't doing that. I would just feel terrible.
Yeah.
So, not terrible, but I would just feel like I'm not doing what I've been designed to do, called to do. I like saying it that way. Yeah, and if they paid me, I would have no problem with that. But if they don't pay me, and I also have no problem with that. So I don't know that I think that there is a. I think when you mentioned this question, one thing I thought of was in the Old Testament, the Levites were the worship leaders, right? Is that correct?
Yeah.
And the
worship. I think a lot of people utilize that very loosely.
Well, I think that they're
the song leaders. I think more technically what
individuals from that tribe were called to lead.
They were the musicians, and
they were called to lead I don't think everyone from the tribe of Levi. That would be many people.
I love when you see that, like, people want to be like, I'm going to call on the Levites, and they're talking about worship leaders, and it's like, okay. Yeah. I don't know. Anyways, side note. You've
never heard one of us say that.
No.
That's all that's all we'll say about it. They were, but in the Old Testament, I think there's precedent that they were compensated because it was their job. I mean, I guess that's more like, should worship leaders be paid? But the group of people came together and provided for them as compensation. That was like their job. So I don't know. I think that there's some precedent. I don't know that there's any hard and fast rule. If a church has means to pay for it, here's the reality, though, is if you pay your musicians, you will attract top tier musicians. Mm-hmm. If you don't, it's much more difficult to attract top tier musicians.
I think it comes. There's reasons why all around. I think like I'll see questions or messages come in or posted or what have you, and people will say like that's what they want to do, and I'm like, so what you're saying is you want. I will say to a certain extent, this isn't meant to be judgmental. Mm-hmm. It's more of a like how it feels, and I like to try to like offer perspective. Mm-hmm. You'll see younger players thinking that they can make a living just playing guitar, and they want to play at all these churches and they want to get paid to do it, and that's what they want to do. And I would say that's a different thing than being relational, being plugged into a body, and they're saying they want to pay you for the fact that you offer something to them, and you do like if you just show up and play your parts and go home and like that's all you do, and you're like like that doesn't add value. And so people saying like I've gotten asked like, well, how do you do that? And I was like, I've formed relationships with people. Like
how do you make money?
Yeah, and it's like you get to know people. I don't think I could make a bigger impact in our area. Like I think I could do more to do that. But I have talked to people, and I'm a relational type of person that. People knew that also when they knew that I stepped down from a full-time gig at church, so they knew I was available and I was helping out in a season of need for places, and that's what it is. Like, like I'm not showing up with zero experience and I'm just playing guitar. I'm offering services beyond that. I'm offering insight on transitions, or I'm helping the band tighten up some things if there's a question about it. I'm offering feedback when it's asked. Like I'm not just showing up and just like playing guitar and trying to build out a pedal board that looks real good on Instagram. Like I'm offering value I'm trying to offer value.
Yes.
So I think it's different, and each church is going to have a different need. Yeah. I was at a campus when I was leading, and we were having a very hard time finding people that called that campus home to then have them play every single week. And we were
I'm gonna put
like,
some comments up on this.
I don't think you need to have a full band to have great worship. But when like every week it's like Wednesday and you're still trying to find like just anybody to make the band a little bigger than like you and a vocalist, and like you have rehearsal on Thursday, that's when you're like, all right, maybe we should pay some people.
Yeah.
And you have people, or you like, it's a gas card, or it's like, here's $50. Like that is not a whole lot of money, but it's like, here's $50 to kind of like compensate you for rehearsal and Sunday morning and the services and your time given. It's gas, it's food, it's like a meal. And so like there's a need. You could talk about this all day. I don't. People are going to argue and say like it's about the heart of worship. I'm like,
it is
absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, people who are skilled shouldn't then be told that like God doesn't want you to get paid to do it.
Yeah.
Like but at the same time, if your only reason for wanting to play guitar is like to get paid to do it, it's like you could dance on this all day.
I hope what you hear Bradford and I saying is, if you read between the lines, it's not hard to hear like, we value being connected in community at a church.
Yeah.
And that is important.
That's actually why I wanted to do Christmas.
Yeah.
Because like I felt like I could have said no, actually I kind of did. And I was like, no, I know there's a need. It's Christmas. I want to play with these incredible people and be a part of this with these people. Yeah. And I was like, I want to help make Christmas Eve happen and like make Jesus known, and like we're not gonna just do, we're gonna do some cool stuff with like reverence. Calm yourselves. But we're gonna like do some things. I was like, I want to be a part of that, and like I wanted to be a part of that with the team.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Chris Hinsman,
we could go on.
This is a sentiment I agree with too when it comes to this topic of paying people. If you pay musicians, you should expect them to be 100% prepared for Sunday. We've had situations in churches where we paid musicians to come, and they showed up late and unprepared. And I straight went to the worship leader and I was like, you need to not hire them ever again. Like, give them another chance, but after that,
we did a spell where our main building was under construction.
Yeah.
And so we were meeting in the movie theater. And
I remember this.
This is a long story. The short version is just worship was pre-recorded minus the worship leader.
Yeah.
And we had a worship leader in each movie theater, because we were using the theater down the road, and they like put the band up on the screen. It was synced. Every single theater was synced. It was cool.
This was rough.
But you had a worship leader with an acoustic guitar in every single room leading, because there wasn't a room big enough. And we like contracted out with this like basically it's a local staffing agency for worship. And this guy showed up.
Are they around anymore, by the way?
I don't know. This wasn't.
We're not going to name names.
This wasn't completely on them, because this individual did it.
Yeah.
Showed up late, disheveled, like didn't sleep, didn't know any of the songs, and they ended up saying like after the first service, like, you need to go home.
They just told him to leave.
There's like, it would be way better for us to have somebody else who like wants to be here and looks like engaged than somebody who doesn't know. Yeah, don't be that guy.
So So Chris says, if you expect them to be 100% prepared for Sunday and sound excellent, when you use volunteers, it's going to take more investment and more training. So you, as the church leader, have to weigh your options, and that I believe that's true. Yeah, good point there. All right, we got let's switch gears. We got more questions. What do you got, Bradford? Hit me with one, and I'll put it on the screen.
All right, here's one. Stephen Powell, do you have suggestions for some side hustles for full-time worship
I saw
leaders?
that come in. Where is that? Stephen Powell. I'm looking through here.
Right there. I see it at the top of the screen.
There we go. Hi, Stephen. Thanks for your question.
In 2022, you can just drive and do things for people. So Uber Eats.
Uber. Oh, yeah.
Uber.
There's a lot of
Lyft, all that kind of stuff
you can do.
Yeah.
It's like, I feel like everyone's hiring these days. So I tell you, I'm not suggesting you do this, but I go to my Taco Bell that's by my house, and like literally the place is never open. And when they are open, I can't believe they're still in business. When they are open, the drive-thru is never open. They're like,
really?
You go to the drive-thru and they say, you got to come in and use the kiosk. So you come in, but you can't go to the counter and order. And I think what it is they're so understaffed.
They're like using the people they have to make orders.
They basically, the only people that they can staff are people who are actually making the orders. And I went there the other day to get some food, and I shouldn't have because Taco Bell, it's not good for you. But there was like I think it was
I've
just
seen an article that says it's actually one of the healthier fast food options, depending on what you get.
Probably can be
if you
healthy.
get like the chicken.
I did not eat healthy. I did nacho fries.
Shoot, those are delicious.
Yeah, they are.
A chalupa is just like, they're like, how can we make this more American? Oh, let's fry it. That's basically what they do. It's a taco that's been fried.
That's right. So anyway, it was like, and this woman, she was super nice, but I think it was just her. She was making the order, so you had to go and order off the kiosk because she didn't have time to come take an order. So anyway, there are lots of companies are hiring right now. So, you could get a part-time job. You worked part-time at Starbucks for a long time.
I did.
Making some side hustle money.
I did for like 2 years.
Yeah.
I was part-time and I was doing Starbucks.
Yeah.
And I was working I was technically, I got paid for 20 hours at the church. I did not work 20 hours. And I was like 20 to 30 at Starbucks.
You were working
and
hard, yeah.
Obvious things for worship leaders: guitar, music, voice, piano lessons, whatever.
Yeah,
lessons, and you can set your own schedule with that too. Typically, which is nice. Which is why like the driving stuff is also good because you
can do it online too.
Yeah, and
lessons and stuff.
You don't have to like have a schedule. It's like, oh, I got a week set up and I can do this or I can whatever.
When Uber worship leader Gretchen Myers. When I moved here, this is years and years ago. Because my wife, her job moved us here, so I was working as a student pastor in Oklahoma, and we moved here, and I didn't have a job, so I eventually got a part-time job as a worship leader in a smaller church here in the area, but my side hustle was in school, I was an overachiever. My father, Mac, he didn't tell me that I had to make straight A's, but he did tell me that nothing less than your best is acceptable, and your best is an A in every class. So,
my father,
I graduated valedictorian.
I was far from it, and I was so far from it, and I only went to my graduating class was like 20 something.
Yeah. So anyway, I was an overachiever, and I was also that same rhetoric applied to my standardized testing. So I got very good test scores growing up, and if you get very good test scores, you can teach for a company. There's a couple of them out there. The one I taught for is Kaplan. They do like test prep. So like I would teach SAT, ACT courses. I also taught for the DAT because I took dental. In a former life, I wanted to be a dentist, and I did well on that test too. So I taught for the dental school exam. I taught for the graduate. I took the GRE because I was also wanted to go to grad school. I thought my scholastic life took many twists and turns, and then I became a YouTuber. Put it all into practice. So anyway, I taught all these standardized tests for Kaplan, and that was a pretty good side hustle too. They paid pretty well back in the day. I mean, this was like 15 years ago. I haven't done it in a long time, but it was like there are a lot of things that you can sort of fall back on that you might not realize are out there. So I did test prep for a couple years actually, just to make some extra money to make ends meet. So
there's plenty of things to try.
Yeah,
but like Brian, that what you're talking about does not spark joy does not resonate with my.
I liked it. I liked teaching.
Oh well, then that's different. That's different.
But one thing I would not suggest is start a YouTube channel. Well, I don't not suggest it. I do suggest starting a YouTube channel, but don't assume that it's going to make any viable income right off the bat. That's what I'll say.
And so this is some free YouTube advice, I guess.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise nowadays.
Yeah.
And we are part of that noise. You're going to have to offer something that is quality. You don't have to have cameras and look like this. You don't.
Yeah. You don't.
It needs to look intentional. It needs to look like you didn't just throw up your potato phone. Like if it's set up well, even if it's not the best quality, and it just like there's a difference between quality of video versus quality of the actual quality of the video, technically speaking, versus the quality of the video,
of the content,
the heart of the video. Yeah,
Content is king.
You gotta offer, because like Gary Vee, all of his stuff on Instagram is like off of an iPhone basically, and like he offers quality content. He cusses like a sailor.
Yeah,
but he offers such
yourself.
Great stuff, and it's just most of the time him sitting on his iPhone. So,
I'm gonna put another question up, Bradford. By the way, I want to say one more time. Again, big thank you to our sponsor for today's video.
Yes,
Christian Kitchens Coffee. If you're just joining us, Christian Kitchens Coffee is a small roaster, provider of delicious coffees. They are a faith-based organization. Their sort of vision is that you wake up, you drink a cup. Everyone wakes up. Not everyone. My wife gave up coffee. I don't know how, but she did, and she feels better for it. But you wake up, you drink coffee. You're pouring yourself a cup of coffee. Why don't you spend a little bit of time in the Word? Spend a little time in prayer as well. My favorites. Faith and Grace.
I just drink what Brian makes,
blends.
And they're great.
How are Faith and Grace?
They're good. What'd you make today?
Grace.
I like strong coffee.
Yeah.
But I don't, like when it comes to brewed coffee, I'm not a fan of stronger coffee. I don't mind it in the winter. It feels right. Mm-hmm. But the medium stuff, I like it's got like that good nuttiness. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that.
Links below where you can visit Christian Kitchens Coffee, our first sponsor ever here at Worship Tutorial.
It is.
We're excited about it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christian Kitchens Coffee. Yeah. Go get some. All right. Next question. I saw this question come up. We can't talk about this, but we're going to talk about the fact that we're excited about it. David Munoz said,
we don't know what you're talking about, actually.
Serious question. How much excitement do you have for the Eventide H90? My mouth is watering. David, I'm looking over here.
And that's all you need to say.
My excitement grows because of what I see on my pedal board over here. We can't say anything about it until 1 p.m. today. Then we can. We're very, very excited. Look for a video published around 1 p.m. Eastern Time today at Worship Tutorials on YouTube. It's amazing. Okay. That's all I'm going to say about that. David, how excited are you about the new H90? It leaked. It leaked yesterday. Eventide, we're going into gear mode here for a second. Eventide has been publishing something's coming today, November the 9th. Something's coming. And it's related to the H9. And one of the images is like a weed eater rolling around.
Oh, it's the light on the H9.
Yeah. And then it turns into two lights.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder.
What could that be?
Apparently Sweetwater did.
Yeah, and then there was an image of a weed eater, like chopping weeds. That has significance. That has something to do with something that's new. There's an image of a prism. That has something to do with something that's new.
It's on the Sweetwater
Sweetwater's
website.
They leak everything. They get everything first.
Maybe they pay extra for that or something.
I don't know. I think they just do it because they can.
Well, Mitch Gallagher posted his article at 11 a.m.
I'm going to cop that image right there that Sweetwater has. I'm going to make that my thumbnail. The H90 is insane.
Do you mean by cop it, you mean just like
make
it look the same?
I took a picture that looks exactly like that.
Did you?
Yes. Spoiler, we got an H90.
I'm nervous to talk about it, even though it's clear that everything's been released.
Shocked if Eventide is watching this video right now about nothing to do with Eventide. Okay. It's flipping amazing is what I'll say.
Well, it's actually nothing too new, to be honest, but
it is, but it isn't.
It is, but it isn't.
It's better than two H9s, I'll say that. Okay.
I see one that I think maybe good topic to hit on. Jay Davis. Scroll up a few more.
Okay.
There you go.
Jay Davis. I'm not even going to read it. I'm just going to put it on screen because I trust Bradford.
I like this. This is a touchy one. It's interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you've talked on this before. I have a church leadership group that is seasoned, as he put it, and does not understand how to communicate with a younger crowd. How do I bring them up or work with?
Work with them?
Yeah.
Okay.
Jay, what do you mean by church leadership, just for clarification? Either way.
Let's assume he means pastoral staff.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
And or maybe board or
I'm wondering if he's on staff or
committee.
If he's just volunteers or now. What. Yeah. Be very curious Jay,
give us some context,
but
if you don't mind.
The thing is don't be the person. Well, two things. It's actually two. Don't be the person who doesn't say anything, but also don't be the person who like just brings something up and says, "All right, take care of it." Like, don't, because then you're just complaining. If there's a real problem, the thing you need to do, especially as like all of us, as we get set in our ways, we get blinded to things happening, and you don't realize like a small leak doesn't seem like that big of a deal until it's been dripping for 2 weeks, and then like you've ruined the floorboard of your house. Or something.
There's mold in the walls.
Right. Yes. It can cause way more damage the longer it goes unchecked. So if you see a problem, bring it up. But because people are gonna, all of us, when we're focused on what we do and we haven't had anybody bring up some alternatives or just like point out and add feedback. If you bring it up and you say, hey, this is what I'm noticing, this is the outfall or this is the fallout, this is what the problem, this is what's happening. This is the problem, but these are the effects of the problem.
Yeah.
I think we need to, could we add some adjustments? Don't bring a long list. Make the impactful things matter and come with some ideas, or at least if you really don't have any ideas, because I get that there are times where it's like this seems like a problem. I really don't know what the solution is, but then at least offer to be a part of the solution. Like I'm willing to do something if we can put, and that's I think every live stream, every Worship Leader Wednesday we have when people ask certain questions. There's no exact formula, and I always say this. It's like the conversation is what needs to happen first.
It's always a difficult conversation,
and it's never fun. And I think a lot of people, and Jay, I'm not necessarily saying this is true of you, but I think a lot of people are hoping we have a script we can offer. And there's a lot of things, a lot of factors that we just don't know and all that. But bringing up, I think you can, that formula works. Yeah. Like, bring up the problem, the effects of the problem, and either have some solutions or offer to at least be a part of the solution and how you can do things. Because most people, they don't want things to be bad. You may run into roadblocks and they may not want to change anything, but even if they don't want to change anything, they certainly don't want things to be bad. And they may think that things aren't bad, but I'm just saying, like, overall, nobody wants to intentionally do things bad.
Yeah.
But
I like what Bradford said. By the way, Jason Houtsma, Worship Artistry. See ya.
If he's still here.
He just said he has to run. And
talk
to you. He said talk to you soon. He's meaning I'm going to call him tomorrow. I don't know what we're going to have a little conversation. Jim, we're doing some
stuff with Worship
collabing
Artistry.
with Jason at Worship Artistry. Go visit Worship Artistry, man. Those guys are awesome. What you said, Bradford, about so we often say leadership is just good leadership is often just a series of very difficult conversations.
It is, yeah.
It's true. But if you come into those
and having those conversations with grace,
and having those conversations, like you can have them poorly, and that's not good leadership. But come into that conversation with encouragement, because I'm sure that one thing about having seasoned, and by seasoned I assume you mean older.
I don't see an update from him, so maybe
one thing about that is people who have been doing this and have a lot of experience come in with a lot of wisdom, and they've seen a lot of things, and they've been through a lot, and they've learned a lot through different situations when they've handled things well, when things have gone poorly. So it's like there's tons of wisdom to be gleaned from people who are older than us in leadership. And I think back to,
even if it doesn't seem to be directly related to like your situation, that something they say can be adjusted, or like the general idea.
Yeah. I had a great privilege of serving. When I was in Oklahoma, I was a student pastor. I mentioned that earlier. I had the privilege of serving under a pastor named Paul Clausen. And Pastor Paul. And Paul was he had been at that church this was at a Mennonite Brethren church in Oklahoma. And he had been there for like 25 years. and he was nearing the end of his career. He retired shortly after I left. And I love Paul. Actually, when I was he moved to Kansas, and when I went back to my school where I went to college in Kansas, I went there for something, and he lived there, and I went and saw him, he and his wife, and spent some time, and it was awesome. So I learned so much from Paul, and just being around him, and of course he taught me things, explicitly taught me things. But a lot of what I learned from Paul was just watching him. He understood that great leadership is a series of difficult conversations, and he was a master at approaching difficult situations with grace and humility. And he could go into a volatile situation. In fact, one of the volatile situations we had was the reason I became the student pastor. Was the student pastor before me had an inappropriate relationship with a student and was fired. And Paul was instrumental in navigating that. I'll say this: the family of the young girl who was involved in that stayed at the church and remained engaged in serving in that church. And I don't think that happens without just incredible leadership and humility.
I could see them wanting to be like, we don't want anything to do with this place. Not because anybody really did anything, but because of
the way they surrounded this family and supported them and loved them. And Paul was instrumental in that. And does Pastor Paul, he's retired now, but did he know how to reach the youths of the community in Edmond, Oklahoma? Probably not his strong suit. But I would not have traded those 4 years working under him, because I learned so much, and I gained a great friend too. So come into those conversations with humility, understanding that these people have a lot of value to bring to the table, but also come with solutions. If you want to say let's pivot and do something different to reach younger people, either here are some ideas I have, or just get younger people involved and say, here are some ideas that we have. Yeah. So come with solutions. That's a great question, though. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Bradford.
I saw another one that I thought was really good.
We are probably going to wrap things up here in a few. So I did too. I saw a question earlier that was regarding. Bradford and I had this conversation. Are we going to talk about gear today or not? And we're like,
there have been gear questions, but
we're not ignoring them.
No, it's just this stream is traditionally to speak to worship leaders. So I saw one. If you have a good one, then let's go with that.
No. In the meantime, I
liked that one. If you're, I don't want to say it because I want people to get their hopes up.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we typically we do gear live streams from time to time. It's been a while. I'll let Brian, unless you find one that you like better. But we should do another one.
Gear stream?
Yeah.
I'll say we have a lot of internal conversations about the direction of this channel. And the channel started...
Look, you can't manage what you don't measure.
That's right.
Okay?
So the channel started and has a vision to equip the church. And
it's in the
equip worship leaders and worship musicians in the church. Over the years, we've done a lot of gear content, and if I'm honest, that content gets more views.
It does. Which is kind of... Yeah. It's a little discouraging to guys like us when we put in way more effort into other content.
Yeah. And so we're trying to find a balance between making content that we know people are searching for and gets views, that often is gear related, and making content that serves the original vision of this channel and what's in our hearts. Like, our hearts are for worship leaders. Like, another overdrive pedal is really cool, but we'd rather see churches thrive and have great leadership than have another overdrive pedal that a company sends us.
We have experienced and seen a lot, and we want to help soften the fear and anxiety that could come from leading worship and help showcase just first, you're not alone, other people experience it, but also this isn't as big of a deal as you think it is. Let's help you get some thoughts on how to wrap all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Okay, so Kyle was the question, right?
I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, let's put it up. Kyle Hodemaker says, do you have any tools or ideas for developing a succession plan for 1, the worship leader, or 2, the worship team members? How would you go about recruiting shy people? So I feel like there are a couple questions here.
Yeah.
A succession plan meaning like you want to replace yourself, that is leadership. Replacing yourself is leadership because that's raising up leaders under you that could and maybe do one day replace you. And that not in a negative way, but so I see that for the worship leader and 2 for worship team members. And so he's asking about recruiting. He's asking about building people up, right? So some thoughts here. One is you have to form relationships. You have to talk to people. Mm-hmm. You have to understand, like you're not going to recruit people if you don't know who they are and that they exist in your church. And he's asking about recruiting shy people. Oftentimes, there are people like me, for example. I was this person. Like, I showed up at this church and I was like, I approached the worship leader and said, I would like to serve on your worship team. I play guitar and I sing. Please tell me what to do. They didn't have to go after me, right? They didn't have to find me. But a lot of your volunteers and musicians are not going to come to you. They are going to respond to an ask.
Yeah. So
you have to identify these people, and then you have to ask them. You have to offer them, because a lot of times they're not just going to show up. I think worship leaders hope that just like. Worship leaders, I think sometimes they feel like we need a bass player. I'm going to pray for a bass player, and then magically one is going to show up at my church.
You gotta prepare for rain.
And come up and talk to me and say, I play bass, can I be on the team?
Yeah,
that's not how it works all the time.
Don't neglect it, but also, like, praying can... I saw something about this, like, in a Facebook thread, but, like, prayer... Some people idolize prayer, and they don't, like, realize that prayer isn't just like the only thing we do. Like, it's almost kind of lazy, but like, I'm just gonna pray about it, like, and just like God will take care of it. God absolutely does things in that way.
Yes.
But when people's MO is just to pray about it and not be active about like using the things God has given them, but anyways, we keep going this.
So you've got to pursue people.
Yeah.
And then once you pursue them and then they assimilate into your team, you have to constantly put in front of them the standard of excellence that you'd like to have your team aspire to.
Yeah.
And give them tools and give them resources. Like we talked about Jason at Worship Artistry earlier. We don't have a link for Worship Artistry below, but Worship Artistry is an unbelievable resource for your worship teams. There are other resources out there as well, like Worship Online. We know Jason, and Jason is such a good guy.
He's done some stuff with us.
And his team is really, really good. And they'll have like, if you want your entire team to learn a song, they've got like how to play it on guitar, acoustic and electric, bass, how to play it on keys, how to play it on drums, how to sing the harmony parts. Like you can individualize each one, and his team does it all in-house. Really good resource. They also have a lot of other resources on like leadership, worship leading, how to arrange a band, that kind of thing. So there are great resources out there, and you as the worship leader, part of your job is to equip your team to excel and to get better all the time.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I'll add a little to it too. The way it's worded makes me, I can't see it exactly anymore. The way it's worded makes it sound like he wants to dive into like a program or something.
Oh, okay.
To me, or at least part of it, I would just say start small too.
Yeah.
Like if you have, the obvious thing is if you have an obvious candidate. I'm sorry. The easy thing is if you have an obvious candidate, like one person, start with them.
Yeah.
And just, you can't really do wrong if your desire and their desire is like both of you, your desire is to do your absolute best. And that individual wants to get better. Just start giving them things that they can do and that you are not the only one who can do. Training people to do things only you can do is obviously helpful. You don't want to be like out one Sunday and there are things that only you know how to do and like you're out. So the church is out of luck because something happened. But delegating things to people, small things.
I'm gonna grab something while you're talking.
Okay. Yeah. Delegating things to people, small things. Don't like just make them an errand runner, but like just being a part of a worship leader and give them opportunities to do the things you do and ask them to help you do those things. And
pardon me, Bradford. Thank you.
And like, there's no, I don't know, you could write a plan, but at first I would just start training somebody and helping them do your job with you and figure it out as you go and see what happens. Like, chances are if another person sees that you've raised up one person, they may want to come apart too. And then bring that person up.
Absolutely.
If people are shy and they don't want to be a part, I wouldn't, like, I'm not saying don't waste your time, but I wouldn't be trying to put a round peg into a square hole either.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, that there's times where you absolutely should call something out, but, you know, don't if you're desperate for people, recruiting and trying to train everybody is great, and that's absolutely a thing. And actually, I know people who have done that. They've been like, hey, but like, you're better off finding people who have hearts that are willing to serve and training them, and just do that. Don't force it, because that's when things get weird. And I don't know, just some insight to kind of add alongside of what Brian was saying.
Yeah, I grabbed a guitar because I saw a question about this, and I feel like there's a story, there's a reason here. So, okay, have a blast. Gear question. You received a while ago an Emerald Virtuo, which seems like a great tool for worship. Are you going to do a review? Listen to that, it's perfectly in tune. I haven't tuned this guitar in months.
That thing is crazy.
This is the Emerald Virtuo. Yes, there will be a video coming for this. It should have been out by now. We're almost there. We're waiting on a piece of gear
we were hoping to do some.
This guitar is insane. First of all, it's all carbon fiber. It's got this flamed koa top on it. It has Fishman Fluence pickups. It's all hollow in there. Fishman Fluence pickups, which every knob is a push-pull. Nope. Just
virtually.
Three knobs are push-pulls. 2 switches. It has a Ghost piezo system. It has a MIDI synth out. So that's what we're waiting on.
Yeah, we want to show that. And
is a
cool
synth unit to show all the MIDI craziness that this guitar can do. But this guitar is nuts, and it is cool. I've used it. I've traveled with it because it's like an acoustic. I have electric guitar strings on it at the moment. You can put acoustic strings on it. So yes, this guitar video is coming soon. Emerald sent this guitar, and they gave it to us at NAMM. So it's been too long since we got it.
Yeah.
We need to get this review out.
To me, it shines. It doesn't sound like garbage unplugged, but that's not the goal, right? Like, it's just not like, it's cool, I guess, if you're sitting with people, but I wouldn't go buy this thing to sit around and play just unplugged. Live, especially with an IR, it's a killer, flexible guitar. And then, you got the option to switch to electric. I would say it would not be a guitar I would want to just play all electric guitar a whole set on. It'd be like what I would do if I was the worship leader who couldn't change guitars but needed to start a song on like acoustic and switch to electric midway through, or like start the set on electric and then play acoustic. Like, it's very flexible and it's great for that kind of stuff. That's, I think, the point. Now, the MIDI, I don't know. I think that'd be weird to use live. I'm not a fan of that.
Amazing.
It'd be awesome, but I wouldn't want to do it.
That's more a tool for composing and like doing stuff that's way outside the box. But yeah, it's coming. So it's great, and it feels amazing. Now, these are expensive guitars. It's like $3,000 guitar if you want something like this, but the fit and finish is on point.
Yeah,
with that.
It plays pretty well. It's an interesting thing because it's carbon fiber.
Yeah, the neck is different but very comfortable.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not a shredder by any means.
It's like got the weave, the carbon
but
fiber.
I don't find that I can get as fast on it as I can on other instruments. But I don't think that's why
you
you
an acoustic guitar.
Yeah,
it's a thin line acoustic with pickups.
If you're a shredder and you're trying to make that happen, you got to be really good. I can't do that. But okay.
All right, I think that's about it. Time, 59 minutes and 30 seconds. Again, visit our sponsors. Christian Kitchen's coffee. Link below. Get you some delicious coffee in your bod. And some caffeine for your soul and for your lack of sleep. There you go. Thank you guys for hanging with us today. It's been a pleasure. We did not hit the first Wednesday of the month, which is what our plan is. Yeah. Because we were all sick. So, first Wednesday of the month, every month, Worship Leader Wednesday live. Expect it. Expect it. Well, there's an old evangelist guy he's like a health and wealth prosperity gospel guy, but he's expect it.
If you ask the question and we didn't get to it, a couple things. Hold on to it.
Yeah.
Present it. Whenever we post, make sure you're following us on Instagram and on Facebook. And like we have WT leaders. We had a guy recently who felt he had to leave the group because he said he wasn't leading worship anymore. And I was like, my friend,
you can still be there.
It has nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
WT stands for Worship Tutorials. So it's just anybody who wants to be a leader, and anybody can be a leader.
That's right.
But anyways, that's more geared towards like the worship and like the that side of things. WT Tone is, more geared towards the gear side of things. But if you got questions, a couple things.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I saw a comment that's just ridiculous. It's okay, go ahead.
The
Lost
thing is,
never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
The group is filled with thousands of people, actually. So lots of good viewpoints. We don't feel that we are the only ones who know things, and we also don't think that our approach to things is the only way, except Jesus. That is the only way.
That's right.
But pose questions there, let people speak on it, and we haven't been doing this in like a real steady routine quite yet. There's always something that happens. Also because like we're about to launch into the holiday season. So are we going to meet the first Wednesday of December? That's the goal. That should be doable.
That's probably like one of the only Wednesdays in December that we could make.
That's probably the only ones we could do anyways.
Yeah.
But anyways, drop questions in there. That's what it's for, to kind of, hear from other people. But also, when we post about Worship Leader Wednesday, drop a question there too. Or you can email us at hello@worshiptutorials.com.
There you go.
All that.
That goes to both of us.
Yeah.
Ask Bradford questions.
I would say we try to answer Instagram, but like Instagram gets flooded, and it is not the best for keeping, for administrative style things.
Yeah.
So it can get real easy to lose questions and all that jazz. So if it goes to the email, hello@worshiptutorials.com, a little easier to keep track of. But if you have support stuff, some support.
Oh, definitely go to support.
Just for clarity.
Yeah. And there is a support site that has that has information that might help you without submitting a ticket.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good week. See you in the next one. Goodbye.